so we can see the presentation.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, thank you very much, Lucy, for the introduction. First of all, and before I start with my presentation, I would like to thank everybody participating in this web session today. I think we are experiencing really moved times. For your strong commitment and dedication. Thank you, Judy, for this great job doing in Africa, but also in other parts of this world. And thank you for your positive spirit and the strong will in making a difference, in changing the way tourism is working right now. And of course, I also would like to thank your team, Job and Lucy. Thank you very much for your support. It's really important to have good people on board on our journey. So thank you very much. And Lucy, thank you especially for your moderation today. Topic of the web session is rethinking certification in sustainable tourism during and post COVID-19. And that's something we are doing as Toursat right now, but even before the crisis, we were rethinking certification and asking ourselves, what is it about when we talk about certification? Why is it important? Is it important? What do we have to offer so that we can help tourism in its way to a big transfer, to a big change in the area how tourism is working right now. And that's something we will talk today. And I will try to not only to talk about Toursat, of course, because it's about the general topic, but a lot of things are implemented already in the way we are doing our certification business, and that perhaps can serve as a motivation for others to do the same and to think about the way we are working and how we are understanding certification today, and especially right now during and after COVID-19. And by the way, there is not after or post COVID-19. We will live with that, and it's not the last pandemic we will experience. So I think in general, we have to rethink what we are doing in certification and in sustainable tourism. Let's take a short check at our agenda today. First of all, I will introduce to you the company Toursat. Then we will talk about certification in tourism in general, very short. Then about rethinking certification, so what can be changed, what is the way it could work in the future. And at the end, there is a short conclusion. I hope to have a good discussion afterwards, so I will try to make my presentation as short as possible to have enough time for questions and answers afterwards. But please feel free, I don't know, to raise your hand, to post your question as soon as it comes up, and we will try to answer all your questions, of course. Well, about Toursat, Toursat is a non-profit organization for consultancy, qualification and certification in the area of sustainable tourism. It was founded in 2009, but long before that, we were already talking and thinking about sustainability and responsibility in tourism. Later on, you will see that. We are headquartered in Stuttgart. That's a city in the south of Germany. And the last years, we have opened up a lot of branch offices with the aim to be near to the reality of companies. So we have
two other offices in Germany. We have one in Switzerland, in Italy, in Ecuador, Peru and Colombia, Costa Rica, for Latin America. And we have a really strong and enriching partnership with STTA, with Judy and her team for Uganda and Kenya. Especially in Uganda, we are working in a joint project called Tourism Excellence Uganda. And we think sustainability and working with companies, you need a certain closer look to the companies. There can't be a too long distance, so that's our strategy, to be as near as possible to the reality and to the companies in the different contexts. Our Tourside community counts over 400 members right now, and these members consist out of outbound tour operators, incoming agencies, travel agencies, accommodations, destinations, and other tourism businesses. So we can really talk about the whole tourism value chain we unify in our international Tourside community. As I already mentioned, we started long before the founding of Tourside to talk about corporate and social responsibility in tourism. That was in the year 2004, where the people didn't really understand what we're talking about. Responsibility, sustainability in tourism, that was quite new. It wasn't really on the agenda of companies or countries. But we continued, we believed in this idea that there should be a change in tourism. And now, nearly 15 years later, we have established Tourside as an international certification body. The first step of our company history till the year 2014 was dedicated to the development of products and services. And from there on, we were looking for the adaptation and the multiplication of our idea, of our system, to other realities, to other contexts, to other countries, to other realities. And the newest project we have in our portfolio is Tourside Africa, or as it is called in Uganda, Tourism Excellence Uganda, where we try to qualify the tourism value chain in Uganda with our experts from Europe, from Germany, but also with our colleagues and friends of STTA, headquartered in Kenya. There is a really strong growth, and it's overwhelming because what started as a quite small idea of changing the way tourism is working right now seemed to be something a lot of companies were looking for. So today we count over 400 companies, and the trend is upward. Even in a crisis like we are facing right now, there are a lot of people joining our community. And that's perhaps the first thing we have to rethink about certification, if it's really about certification or if it's about building communities, building networks, having the same idea and the same definition of something, and benchmarking themselves with criteria to be somehow comparable with each other, but not about not because of the certification, but to be part of a community and have a same understanding of something. So that perhaps one of the first topics we can rethink when we talk about certification. Our community, as I already described, consists of different tourism segments. The biggest part are tour operators, and the biggest part of these tour operators are outbound tour operators based in Europe, and the biggest part based in Germany. Specialized tour operators looking for really unique experiences not really working with mass markets. And I think exactly tour operators that could be perfect to represent your products within this source market. Tour operators not really building up their main goal in profit, but in service, in value, in real adventures. So that's a big part of companies we are working with, and we are really proud to be able to have really small companies within our community, but also large corporations like brands of their touristic or sister companies of TUI, for example, we are working with. And that's also something we should rethink. If a tool or a system you offer in tourism that is really that consists of a lot of small companies, that's the reality. Biggest part of companies in tourism are small companies. How modular and how flexible your system is. Not only having one solution and everyone has to fit this system, but being able to somehow adapt and understand the reality of the different segments, but also of different countries or cultures or regions and so on, and not always trying to do the same overall, but somehow offering a flexible tool to really bring value with you. So that's some other point we can think about certification in sustainable tourism. When we started to develop our system, we were not looking for something completely new. We know that there are a lot of qualification and certification standards in tourism, and it was never our goal to develop something from scratch. And we respect the good work a lot of intelligent people have done in the past, but we also saw that a lot of systems, they are not specific enough. Yeah, they serve we talk here about general certification schemes, set of criteria, but they are not specific. So a lot of times a specific segment can't really work with this certification in their daily business. They can do it and they can reach a certification, but at the end, it will not be connected to the core business, to what they are really doing day by day. And we think that if you implement a certification and a corresponding scheme, a corresponding set of criteria you're working with, there should be the possibility to really mirror your daily business. So it makes sense for you to work for it. And it's not only a reporting to someone who could be interested in it, but really for yourself, understanding things better that are going in your company. So we took the ISO norms, EMAS, and as well, we based all our systems on the criteria of the Global Sustainable Tourism Council to make sure that it really fits with the international definition of sustainable tourism, of course. And the newest development is that we try to really link everything we do to the Sustainable Development Goals. Yeah, that's our master plan worldwide right now for our sustainable development. And I think everyone should know how a certification or how a management system and a process is linked to the fulfillment of certain sustainable development goals. And that's something also we should rethink to translate what we are doing, because certifications are really technical, and we have to translate what we are doing into concrete measures and concrete actions that these companies are paying on. So that's something really important for the motivation to work on it, because if you do something technical, you do not really understand yourself, it's difficult that you stay with it and that you develop it. But having a translation in your own language as a tour operator and a hotel or a destination will help you to really understand is it about, and how is my daily business and my action related to some bigger picture or some umbrella master plan. So that was the first step. We understood that there are a lot of systems and we do not have to start from scratch. We have to learn from the others, but try to make it more specific so that the business company, the companies really can implement it into their business and their daily day-by-day routine somehow. Also, we understood that we will not really succeed alone. So what also has to be reviewed by certifications or everyone working in tourism is the time and effort you make or you put on networking and cooperation. Everything or a lot of companies in tourism are small scale companies, and to change something, we have to cooperate. It will never ever be possible to do it by yourself. Yeah, and I think you all know what I mean with that. Putting time into networking and cooperation will help you, and that is what happened with our companies. We really started on an early stage to. We decided that we only will succeed in partnership and in cooperation. And so that's the picture, what you are seeing right now. We have a certification council to help us with decision making. We have in all continents, we have representations helping us to understand the realities of companies and people and culture and so on. And we have alliances, strategic alliances to offer special services or to cover things we don't know, but if someone has developed already something good, we can implement it in our way, and there is no double work. So that's also something we should save time and money, and not develop 3 times the same thing and have 3 names for the same thing. And that's something that happened in certification. There are hundreds of certifications, a lot of them doing the same, but not really talking to each other. And that's not the way we will help companies, because at the end, the result are small groups, but not a unified sustainable tourism alliance. We also realized that being and working in tourism and having a big network and knowledge, we can not only use it for our consulting, our certification system, and we felt kind of responsible to also bring in our knowledge in projects financed by foundations or countries or associations to work on the sustainable development goals. Yeah, fighting for human rights, fighting against hunger, fighting against inequality, fighting against a lot of topics that are on the global agenda. And I think as a certification body and as a certification, having criteria, having networks, having companies working with, I think you should also invest your time and your knowledge within projects to really help and empower communities and other people to be able to solve their problems by themselves. Yeah, to show them how to do it, and then to leave them alone and make sure that they got all tools and knowledge to solve the problems. And that's, for example, our project right now in Uganda, Tourism Excellence Uganda, with private safaris. That's a big tour operator from Switzerland, and ADA, that's the Austrian Development Agency, in partnership with STTA, Judy and team, to work with the tourism value chain, tour operators and hotels, and to understand what is this sustainability in business, what is the status quo, where are we standing right now, and what can we change in future. So to motivate and to show to the companies and organizations a possible way they can walk. So at the end, it's not really about certification. Yeah, even being a certification body, and even if a lot of people talk and try to sell certifications, we should see what stands behind it. And in the case of TourCert, and I think at many other certification schemes also, it's more about the development of a company or a destination, setting standards, setting criteria, having the possibility to benchmark yourself, to understand a little bit better about your impact and about the footprints you leave, perhaps. And that's also something we should rethink, not trying to certify someone and having this certification as the ultimate product. I think it's more about the way, it's more about the process, it's more about the learning. And at the end, you have the possibility to get certified, but it's not everything about certification. So it's much more, it's about the process. And that's why we as TourCert, and I hope a lot of other certification bodies will follow, put a stronger focus on the process and not about and not certification. It's about the way. So first of all, it's about empowerment. Yeah, without qualified employees, you can not really work on your sustainability. Yeah, deciding as a CEO or owner that you will be a sustainable company, that's good. But if your employees are not qualified and do not understand what you're talking about, you will face huge problems, because it will not really work. So it's about employee qualification and offering practical and nowadays, of course, digital tools to run your sustainability, to collect data, to compare data. So first of all, empowerment. Show people how to do it. Then it's about measurability. So setting specific criteria and indicators that are really connected to your core business, because if it's not connected to your business, you will not work on it, because at the end of the day, you will not really be able to work with this criteria or indicators. So really thinking about why we are asking for an indicator, and if it's not necessary, we will not ask for it, because we are not looking for making other people work. We are helping other people understanding the situation. So specific criteria and indicators. A mixture of qualitative and quantitative indicators. It's not only about figures, it's also about the background of some things. So only working on a performance basis, that's not the future. It's about process. It's about a process-oriented system where you can't measure with quantitative indicators. You need qualitative questionnaires and procedures. And at the end, you need benchmarks, but because in tourism, we like to compare to each other. We like to know if we are performing better or not than our competitive set, or in comparison with our main competitor. In tourism, it's about the value chain. It doesn't make sense only to take a look at the company and not really understanding the value chain, because at the end, if I certify a tour operator in Germany, it's good, but the traveler will not sleep in its office, in his office in Frankfurt. They will travel, and so I have to take a deep look into the value chain. That means, how do they get there? Where do they sleep? What will they visit? How do they move within the destination? And that's tricky, but it needs to be done by certification bodies, and that's also something to rethink. what is it about? What is tourism? And it's about a value chain. A lot of people working together to offer a tourism product, and it's not only one company. So we have to understand that tourism is about chains, a lot of companies working together. And if we talk about sustainability in tourism, we need to somehow respect and understand value chains and have a stronger focus on them. So we personally have developed a lot of checks and surveys to make sure that we understand the value chain and the business that is represented by our partners. And at the end, it's not about being 100% sustainable. That will not happen. I think you know that. It's a way, it's a continuous process. It's a decision you make and a long, long path you will walk. It's about continued improvement. It's about regular monitoring. It's about regularly rethinking and questioning the things you are doing, like we are doing as Tourset and like we are doing today in this session, Rethinking Certification in Tourism. It's about a continuous process, and I only wanted to show you this this flower. We call it Tourset flower, because everything starts with a clear statement of management. It's not about checklists that you have to fill out and work on and so on. It's something that has to be kind of integrated in the DNA of your business, your mission, your vision. Why are you working in tourism? What are your goals? And then automatically you will catch up with your team, you will motivate your team, and it will be much more easier to work on sustainability, but on every other aspect of your company, if you put it on your mission and everyone understands why it has to be done. And that's something a lot of companies and regions, they have forgot. Yeah, they try to work, they try to change something, but they forgot to explain why and to make sure that everyone is on board for this change. Because like I said in the beginning, on a bigger scale alone you will not manage to really succeed and really make a change. You need people following you, so you need to put it on your mission and make a clear statement. And that's something certification bodies can make sure, or at least empower their or companies to do it as a first step, to rethink and to implement a clear mission statement on which everything else is built up. So what is investigated? A lot of times people think that certification is a checklist of 2 or 3 pages you work on, and then you pay a membership fee, and then you are sustainable and you are green. But I think that's something we really have to work on, because there is the biggest part that is not like that. Yeah, we are really investigating. We are really trying to understand how companies are working, and it's a misunderstanding, because if it's only a checklist, I'm totally with you. Especially in a crisis like COVID-19, you are not interested in working on a certification if it's only a checklist. But if you understand that working on a certification is much more, and that you investigate, for example, your management, and you think about management responsibilities, and you work on environmental factors, you think about biodiversity. Perhaps you know this big discussion, biodiversity and pandemics. What is the connection between each other? If you work on human rights, so the protection of cultural heritage, for example, you work on local communities. So you make sure, or at least you measure, the promotion of the local economy. You rethink how are you connected with local producers. Fair trade relations. So do you really know how your suppliers are doing right now? Have you talked to them in crisis, how they are doing? Will they survive? And what can you do for them? What can they do for you? I think tourism is a branch from people for people, but at the same time, we do not really talk to each other. And a system like ours really makes sure that you talk and you analyze on a continuous process all stakeholders you're working with, and then automatically you will make sure that you know how the people are doing you're working with, and on which your product at the end is built on. Because I think you understand, if a hotel in Uganda or a tour operator in Germany does make sure that the value chain survives the crisis, then they will have a problem. Perhaps they survive by themselves, but there will be no partner to work with in the future. So it's also about relationships. It's about your guests, about the customers, about the customer satisfaction and security, of course. People will not stop traveling, but you will have to show them that you will make everything to satisfy them, and to make sure that there is no risk or no difficult situation traveling. And if you do so, they will come back, and I'm sure that you will have the possibility to recover. But you have to implement processes and tools to really do so, and not only say that you are looking for the customer satisfaction, but really measuring and working on it, and really questioning yourself day by day. And at the end, working practices, and especially right now with a pandemic, health and safety at work, not only for your customers, but also for your staff. People coming to work, they also need the feeling of being safe and having security. And that's what a certification scheme with criteria and methodologies could really help with, to investigate and to understand your business, how it is, and to put measures and improvement measures on different areas. And how this picture shows, and that's the way we see certification, that's the green area at the end. It's something that you can work on, and you can face, and you can, and that's a ultimate goal. But it's more about the process, the support, the work in the company, the work with an expert, the work with your staff, with your stakeholders, understanding what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you can change it. And that's the only way sustainability will really succeed. And that's something we should all think about. What is it when we talk about certification? Yeah, because at the end, a certification is an audit and a check if you are fulfilling certain criteria, but that will not make the change. Yeah, the change happens before that. So my conclusion, and that's the last slide, is that it's not about certification. It's about the improvement of services. It's about working with intelligent and practical tools and instruments that help me to realize my corporate and social responsibility. It's about saving money through resource efficiency, understanding where you have costs, where you spend resources, and how to save them. Yeah, it's about qualified and committed employees. It's about optimizing the value chain and the local integration. And by the way, talking about resilience right now in a crisis, companies understanding the strong connection with the local companies and the local population, they are doing quite well right now. Yeah, of course they are facing problems and there are no bookings, but they have diversified their business. They really can rely on a local and strong network, and that makes them more resilient. And that's something we have to think about in future. resilience. It's about guest satisfaction, loyalty, and security, of course. It's about, at the end, a credible proof that you have worked on something for your reputation, for your communication, but not more. Yeah. So the label you will receive is for your communication, but it's more about the process working on. Consideration of human rights, labor, and safety standards today more than ever before. And at the end, the promotion of sustainable tourism management. And I think right now it will become clearer and clearer to a lot of companies and also travelers that it can't continue. It will be, we will face a change. Customers will be much more interested in products that prove that they will not damage environment, that will not damage social aspects within a travel destination. And at the end, how I said, talking about certification and rethinking certification, we should understand for the future that it's not only about labeling someone, it's about helping someone to really understand and to give them a partnership to help them to go their way. And at the end, certification is like talking about a muffin. Think about the muffin. Yeah. First, you need the muffin, a healthy company, a good business idea. Then you have the cream, the vision, the mission, the knowledge base. Yeah. Then there is this choco dip you see. Yeah. That's the strategy and the continuous improvement. And at the end, but that will not make the big difference, but it can be done. It's the sherry, the certification, or the label. But without a good muffin or a good cream, there will be no sherry. So let's first work on the good muffin. And that's my last slide. And I'm looking forward for your questions. And thank you very much again for your invitation and the possibility to talk about certification here in the STAS 2020. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Marco, so much for the interesting presentation. We already have a comment saying that it's interesting stuff that you have shared. You rarely get it, even in class. So I think what was remarkable is the way you've explained certification as a process, focusing on it as a process and not necessarily the end results of getting a certificate. One question that I've gotten is how do you think certification will be after this crisis for COVID-19? Will there be a need maybe to say a business or a destination has been certified for resilience? Because initially we saw that when certification began, we had a predominant focus on green practices or checking the standards for green operations. So do you think there might be some changes in certification in the near future?
Yeah. I think I was just, before this session, I was talking to my team about the difference of arguing also for or against a certification. And before this crisis, it was something talking about values, good management, responsibility. And it was something companies understood as something voluntary that they could do, but if they not really work on it, it will not make a difference. So it was really hard to explain the need of a certification, yeah, because everyone was like, hey, we have 1 year after the other with a strong growth, we are earning a lot of money and it's doing well. And we as a company do not really understand why we need this certification. Now we have a global crisis, and this crisis brings a lot of people to think about their lifestyle, about what they have to do with this crisis. Are we also responsible for some things that happened in the past? And I think a lot of people are rethinking the way they will consume and buy and travel in the future. And so that brings to the answer right now. In the future, it's a business case. Sustainability and being good in sustainability issues will be a business case. It will be a unique selling proposition. Yeah, someone being able to show to the outside, in this case to the customer or other business partners, B2B area, that they are really certified and really into sustainability, not only by working a checklist and being green, but really having a strong audit, international recognized label. They will succeed. They will have an advantage. They will step forward and really differentiate themselves from the competition, not working on it, or not believing in this kind of offers or labelings. So that I think that's the change. Yeah, in the future, it's a competitive advantage. It's something you can use to communicate to your potential customers that is working on something they have defined as something they would like to change in the way of traveling, in the way of, or in their lifestyle, I would say, yeah, and not anymore only looking for biological food or clothes, but also they are starting right now, at least in Europe, we see a really strong development, questioning how is this hotel treating their employees? Is the tour operator really in personal contact with all the companies they are selling me as a product? Yeah, because if something happens in the future, will they help me? Do they know each other in terms of one, quality, and second, also security for me as a traveler? So that's the big change we are seeing, that it's a competitive advantage, it's a unique selling proposition, it's a business case. And of course, all these arguments like good management, good leadership, value-driven business, that continues. That's the original motivation. That's intrinsic motivation, I would tell. That's what your heart tells you. But talking about business, it's differentiation, USP, selling proposition, being better than your competitors.
Thanks, Marco, for that. I think Lucy somehow dropped off. I can see her. But there's another question that asks, do you think indicators being used will change? Indicators being used for certification, are they going to change going forward to also measure the resilience of the tourism business?
Definitely. Of course, indicators, we use indicators to show you really fast how you're doing on certain areas. Indicators, it's a combination of various criteria, and they are translated in an indicator, of course. Yeah. So you can you have your set of minimum indicators, for example, 10 indicators you are looking, and if there is a positive or negative development, you will work on the criteria basis and see what happened. Why are you losing or gaining? And with the time, we of course rethinking our business, but also rethinking our set of criteria and our sets of indicators. We have to tackle, and we have to mirror somehow the reality, what is happening in our world in tourism what is important right now for surviving in tourism somehow. And if it's really necessary, we will set up new indicators and well, implement them in our system, of course. Yeah, and resilience is something like that. Yeah, I don't know if we will call it resilient indicator, but it's more about the integration of, for example, agriculture or other segments within your tourism offer, to show that you not only depend on someone visiting you, and that you have other business areas that will finance your structure somehow. I still don't know how we will translate it into the indicator system, but definitely we will do so. Yeah.
Great. I think what you're saying there is that certification schemes need to be dynamic, and so when there is need to adapt new measures to be included, like what we're experiencing now, then an effective scheme must be open to look at these new opportunities and see how they can come up with indicators around them. And now here is another question that keeps emerging. I think these discussions, we had a bit of it in the morning and it has come up again. And it is talking about the extensive requirements for certification, and whether that disadvantages many small businesses because they do not have the capacity to go through these extensive processes that are required of certification schemes. And if then that happens, it means that there are businesses that will remain perpetually marginalized from certification. So what do you suggest that certification should do to avoid this marginalization of businesses that don't have the capacity? And Lisa is actually thinking of the many small businesses in Africa in marginalized areas. They desperately need this standard, but they cannot. They are not able to work with them.
Well, that's definitely something we as Tourside, but also other certification have to think about, because as I tried to say at the beginning, the biggest part of tourism consists of small companies, yeah, 1 or 2 persons having a business, yeah, a guest house, a small hotel, tour guide, a small tour operator, and so on. And the big hotel chains, the big airlines, of course they are omnipresent, but they are not tourism. They are part of tourism, but they are not the reality of tourism, yeah. And if we do not understand that, we will only work with the big ones, but the big part of the people working in tourism, the big part of travelers traveling somewhere, they work with or for small businesses in rural areas that are not in the position of running a complex management and certification scheme. And that's what Judy just said. What are we doing? I'm not running my company to certify as much companies as possible. That's not my goal. What I'm working for is to help companies to change the way they are doing the business. And if they need a labeling for that afterwards, okay. But it's more about working with companies. And in this case, it doesn't matter if you are a small company or a big company, because we have to build up this service or this offer modular so that a small company can afford it and a big company can afford it. Yeah. And therefore we have to talk to each other, and not always it is possible, because if only one company with 2 employees somewhere in the middle of nowhere wants to work with us, that's difficult, yeah, because we have to send there someone and so on. But therefore, we are working, for example, within projects and saying, okay, let's think about, we can't finance, or we can't offer for something like that, but there are a lot of projects really trying to help small companies, rural companies, communities to create jobs, to be resilient, to build somehow some wealth, I would say, yeah, some structures. And for this reason, we are working on projects to make sure that someone else pays for the small companies, yeah, and slowly, but with success, I would say, we are working on that, yeah. And and it is important to understand, not everyone needs a certification, yeah. Not everyone will be able to participate in this big business of tourism, yeah, because it's also about capacity, yeah. If you're a small hotel or a small village where only 2 people can sleep per day, the big tour operators will have problems to sell it because the capacity is too small, and so you will need a good relationship with other small tour operators, understanding your reality. And even without having a certification, you will have a basis, a way to really work with each other. And again, it's more about working and developing and learning, I would say, and not that much about having an international recognized certification that a lot of people simply do not care about. So perhaps sometimes it doesn't make sense. Yeah, we can't forget these small companies. We have to have them always on our agenda. We have to think, what can we offer them? How do we have to offer them a service? Who will pay for it? And how can we develop whole tourism and not only a small part consisting of big corporations having the financial power to work on something like that, yeah? Being sustainable should not be a luxury. Yeah, it should be available for everyone and accessible for everyone. And that's my answer for now.
Sorry, thank you, Marco. And now to this last one, and then we will wrap up for today. And so somebody asked, generally, who benefits from certification? I know you have said it throughout your presentation, but summarize it in a sentence.
Yeah. I think we have the situation right now. We have politics or where the administration, we have companies, and we have customers, and everyone is waiting for the sustainable decision of the other, but nothing will happen. And that's difficult because we are not moving. Yeah, and I think certification, or from certification, all 3 parties will benefit. Companies will have a system and a structure to work on their sustainability, and afterwards clearly communicate to the outside because of the certification. There is an audit and someone who says, okay, now you can use this label to communicate your performance, your engagement, your commitment in sustainability. So that's a benefit for a company, internally processes, and externally having a label. The customer would like to travel environmentally and socially friendly, the biggest part, but only 2 to 5% do it at the end of the day. Why? They didn't know who is offering something sustainable. They were looking for, but they didn't know. and they do not have time to read 50 pages of your report and then make a decision. So they need an easy sign that someone is sustainable or not, or working on its sustainability. So that's also in my buying process, to have an additional information to make the best decision, and to have perhaps or hopefully the best quality. And the government or the administration has someone filling a gap they are not solving for us right now. Yeah, they should. That's my opinion. We as Toursert, we are doing something that normally should be the decision of governments, and saying, if you want to operate in tourism, you have to give us a regular proof that you are not damaging the world and the nature, and you are treating well your staff and so on. But as they are not doing it, we are offering something, and they can rely on it, and are happy somehow that someone from outside is offering this somehow to organize the business, or bringing in a new monitoring system somehow. So I think everyone benefits, and there are, of course, a lot of pros and cons. Yeah, and of course, certification means you have to work on it, you have to pay for it. It doesn't happen automatically. Yeah, but hey, we are in tourism. We work for that. We want to make sure that we can offer nice dreams and products in the future, and we should really implement systems that help us to make this possible. A lot of times we forget, and if the beach is dirty, there will be no more guests. Yeah, and if I have a system questioning again and again what is happening in my place, where I'm bringing the customers, it will help me. So I think more benefits for everyone than disadvantages. So perhaps that's answer enough. Yeah.
Yes, very good answer there, Marco, to that big question that is asked over and over again about certification, but you've tackled it very well. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've come to the end of our session. It's just about 1 or 2 minutes after 4 o'clock. We were meant to finish just about this time. Thank you, Marco, for managing time very well. And again, for a great presentation, much appreciated by our participants this afternoon. So we've come to the end of series 2 of STARS 2020 Goes Virtual, another inspiring session talking about the 3 C's, communities, conservation, and certification. Some profound lessons we have learned from some of you. I can't say everything. We'll include them in the summaries. We'll be able to share them out. But this afternoon, you have actually told us that certification is about building communities around ideas, ideas that matter, ideas that are necessary for this time. And I think that answers the big question of whether sustainable tourism certification is relevant for our times. Indeed, it will be relevant. But if a sustainable certification scheme is a checklist, it will not make sense for any business during this crisis. And I think that distinction is very important. Thank you for bringing out that very clearly, because questions were beginning to emerge. So those who were looking at certification as a checklist were saying it doesn't make sense because they could not see its value during this crisis. But for those schemes that have been able to build a community around certification, and I always like the use of the cherry on top of the pie or the cake, it explains it extremely well, that if you have built a strong communities, these communities can survive without the cherry on top of it, and they can talk to each other and they can benefit from each other, but the values themselves should be able to carry the businesses forward. And that is very much linked to a discussion we had this morning about small businesses and the relationship with standards and sustainability. And Lisa brought out very clearly that standards can guide small businesses. They will guide small businesses to build the integrity and the resilience that they require. And I liked it when she mentioned in the last comments that the strength of a business is in the heart and ethics of the business. Everything else is an addition to it. And certification and standards help to build what is very important, which is the heart and ethics of every business. So we've had very enriching discussions today. These discussions will be shared to all participants via links. We have recorded every session, so it will reach much more than those who have been with us today. And that is the purpose, not just to have many people in one session, but to reach this information can stay longer and reach many more people. So I take this opportunity to thank you, Marco, and I thank Tuasat, and thank you with your colleague, Celia, for organizing this very insightful presentation. I think it has broken down, to those who've been wondering how certification works, it's been broken down and made very simple. So we have come to the end. We will share this, and we will let you know if we will have series 3. We are getting interest in products and services. People want us to talk about products and services. And we'll put together, we'll talk to a few people and see if we can organize that. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here. We appreciate your engagement. We've seen your very positive comments in the chat room. Let's continue these conversations outside here on Twitter and on other spaces so that we can spread the word on sustainability being at the core of optimizing Destination Africa. Thank you again for joining STAS 2020 Goes Virtual. Bye for now.